Hi everyone, Rick Bray with BT Bosse's Instructional Support, and in this video I'd like to give you a quick rundown, hopefully, of the on-screen teacher controls that come up when you are presenting a presentation interactively with Pear Deck. So first thing is you'll notice the teacher controls show up when you mouse over, like move your mouse on the screen, right? So like I move the mouse and it shows up. Biggest thing we had to deal with is, so what do I do if I don't have a mouse? Like what if it's a smart board or an interactive touch screen, something like that? The issue is if I tap the screen like over here, it's going to make the presentation go forward. In fact, if I tap the screen anywhere, it's going to make the presentation go forward. So what we found is best is if you come up and touch the screen right in the center on the bottom, that will bring up the teacher controls without advancing the slide deck. So I can just go click and they will appear, right? This isn't a touch screen, so it doesn't quite behave the same way. Your results may vary, but let's talk about these controls. First off, I hope this is self-explanatory. It's the slide indicator, right? Slide 1 of 5, 2 of 5, because this one lets me go forward. You got it. This one lets me go backwards to 1 of 5. You can also use a mouse. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move forward and back. If you have a wireless advancer, you can use that to go as well. Presenting lets you know that you're live. Here's a great thing with Pear Deck. I can ask a new question, boom, right on the spot in the middle of a presentation. So if I feel like there was a moment I need to check back in with my students, I can ask them a question right on this slide. I can ask them the same question if it's a current question. If I said like, okay, now that we had time to talk about this, let's see how you do again. Boom, ask the question. Or I could just put a new one in there, right? All sorts of awesome stuff to do on the fly. I can end the session here, which would end the session. Again, I hope that's self-explanatory. If not, push the button, watch what happens. These 3 little dots, lots of stuff going on here, right? I can make the presentation full screen. We can open the dashboard, which gives you some information on the back end, either in a new window or a new device. There's a video coming up on that later. Student paste, this is cool, right? We talked about when you're in this slide deck, as you move through the slides, it changes for your students. That's teacher paste. But if you turn on student paste, it's going to give you this little blurb, which you can say, okay, I got it. And now my students, my participants can move through the slide deck at their own pace. They can move forwards and backwards, and it's still interactive. So that's really nice if you think about maybe a centers type environment where we start teacher paced whole group. And then as we move into the centers, you turn on student pace. I'm going to say, okay, got it. So the students can move through the slide deck based on the center that they're at. They can go at their own pace. All that's good. And then when I want to bring it back together, I can click this stop student paste and boom, every student is going to go to the slide that I'm on as a way to bring them back together. So that's pretty darn cool. Now, you may have noticed that the teacher controls change based on what kind of slide you're on. That's what's all there for a non-interactive slide. But when you hit an interactive slide, you get a couple more options here. First off, no responses, right? It'll tell you how many of the participants have responded. I can show those responses. Again, you'll notice that student responses are not shown by default. When I click show responses, they appear. I can show them a couple different ways. I like to show this. A list layout is just like the picture shows. It's kind of a vertically aligned bulleted list. This grid layout is more like a thumbnail. And then this overlay layout is super cool. It's going to superimpose or like lay over top all of the answers on each other. So imagine if you were like circling a specific geographic feature on a map. You could overlay all the responses and theoretically we should all be circling in the same area. Or if I was making a graph, I could superimpose those graphs all on top of each other and our lines should look about the same. Pretty darn cool. And to go back to my presentation, I just click hide responses and I go back. The last button is lock screen. When I click that, that doesn't do anything for the teacher view, but on the student end, they'll get a black screen that says your teacher has locked the screen. So it doesn't let them be interactive anymore. Where is that useful? We've seen teachers come onto one of these slides. They lock the screens to provide think time for the students before they answer. And then they unlock the screen so that the students can answer the question. And when they want to go over the answers, they lock the screens again so that they can't change their answer and we can talk about what we saw. Notice there's a little arrow here, right? This is pretty neat. I don't know if I can get that to work. There we go. I can set a timer so it locks after a certain amount of time. Yep, pretty awesome. So there you go. Those are all of the teacher controls in an interactive presentation with Pear Deck. If you have any questions on this or anything else EdTech related, please feel free to email me at rbray@btboses.org. You're welcome to subscribe to this channel to get updates when new videos are posted. And as always, thank you for watching.